Hello and welcome to my rules explanation slash playthrough of Agricola, a classic of modern board gaming. We are going to play offline. We are going to create a game. We will be the wooden colored people over here. It'll be this woman who looks a bit like me, and this man who looks a bit like, what's that guy's name? I feel like his first name's Sam. He's that like archetypal cowboy guy. Anyway, that's us. And we'll be playing against this AI, Colin. You can do a pass and play thing. You can play online. The app is pretty well developed in those regards. There are different decks that you can use. These last three are in-app purchases, kind of like expansions. They add some new dimension to the game, or they change one of the dimension. We'll be playing with the included deck. I would recommend playing with that until you get sick of it. There's plenty of room for variability just with that one deck. We will not be playing the family game. I'll explain what the family game is after we go through a regular game. We will not be drafting. I'll explain what draft options we would have if we were drafting. When that time comes, let's go ahead and get started. So there will be 14 rounds in the game. Every couple of rounds, let's take a look. Let's see. Nope, not that button. This button, we're going to push this button up here to go to our farm. We're going to go ahead and tap on this, which is our current point situation. We're going to look here. So these are our rounds, and they're divided by stage. So each stage is a number of rounds between 1 and 4. After the last round of a stage, there will be a harvest phase, which we'll discuss. Each stage of the game, you will be able to assign your workers to do something in town. Classic worker placement game. Either collect resources or do something to improve your farm, something along those lines. So for stage 1, we have the most time to prepare for harvest. We have 4 rounds. Stage 2 will have 3 rounds. Stage 3 will have 2 rounds. Stage 4 and 5 will also have 2 rounds. Stage 6 will just have 1 round. So we'll have a harvest after stage 5, round 14, then the end of game harvest, and then we'll do end of game scoring. So what these are things that actions we'll be able to take as a with one of our workers. So right now it's just me and Sam, and this is Colin and Lady Colin. And throughout the game, during the game, you'll have an opportunity for family growth. You can have up to 5 people in your family. We will be able to get animals and have them breed. We'll be able to sow fields and build fences around pastures and get stone and plow some more fields. It's super exciting. So let's take a little look at our in-game idea here. So you can kind of have an idea, what are we going to need to do during the course of the game? So actually, before we look at this is our farm. And the way that houses usually work in Agricola is that for your people to be comfortable, each person needs to have their own room. So I have my room down here, and Sam has his room up here. This is our little kitchenette. It's very inefficient as of right now. So in these areas that are these sort of shaded squares, these are places that we can develop our farm to make our farm more efficient, to become more self-sufficient. All of these things are super important for us as farmers. Right now our house is a 2-room wooden house. Our house is made of wood. Let's talk about the material types. You can see down here we have wood, clay, stone, and reed. So these are what we'll be building houses, we'll be building fences, we'll be making improvements with these materials. these two resources, wheat or grain and vegetables or pumpkins. Um, I really feel like pumpkins might be a berry. Um, I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. But they are called vegetables on cards, even though that is a picture of a pumpkin. Um, these are edible resources. So now, typically, we cannot eat these building materials. Um, Now, as with most games, there is a mechanic that's going to allow us to break most of the rules. And one of the rules that can be broken is that you can go ahead and eat some clay or some stone in a particular situation. But let's just live by the rule that we cannot eat building materials. We can eat, like I said, grain and vegetables, or we can eat livestock. So we have three different types of livestock: sheep, wild boar, and cattle. And you can see at the beginning, Sam and I have just moved into this little 1 or 2 room house, and we don't have any livestock. This little animated chicken down here is nothing. This chicken does nothing for us. Um, so we're gonna need to remedy that. Also on this screen, you'll see how much food you have ready for harvest. So you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, and then we're gonna have harvest. During harvest, we need to be able to feed all of our people, and our people eat 2 food during harvest, just like a normal person, just as is the way. That is the FDA suggested amount of nutrients for an Agricola. uh, 2 food in a multiplayer game. If you're playing solo, it's 3 per person. And for babies, it's 1. So, okay, so this tells you where you are in your food track. We start the game with 2 food. So really, we just need to make sure we have 2 more food by the time harvest comes. This tells us how many people are in our family. Let's go ahead and look at the scoring. So now that we've looked at our farm, so for these top 7 things up here, you'll get the point amount at the top of the column that corresponds to how many of that resource or row you fulfill. So if you have a field is a plowed area, something you've plowed. So it's really hard with Agricola not to make something sound like a double entendre. So I apologize in advance if I giggle a little bit under my breath at certain things like talking about plowing. Um, Anyway, so fields. If I have 1 plowed field, I would get negative. I would lose a point because nobody's impressed. Like, oh, you have had all game to plow fields and you only have 1. That's ridiculous. Whereas if I have 5 or more, I get 4 points because woo, I am going to town. The same is true for pastures. And a pasture is just a fenced area. It could be just this one area, or it could be both of these fenced together. So if it's just one area, that would cost me 4 fences, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But if it's this big area, it would cost me 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that would count as 1 pasture. So I guess ostensibly you could just make a giant pasture. And you would get 1 point for it. But if you broke it down to at least 4 pastures, you'd get 4 points. And right now, we're losing points for the fields and the pastures because we have none. Grain, we have none. And vegetables, we have none. And this is going to count, this asterisk means it includes things that haven't been harvested yet. So when we first plant some grain and some vegetables, I'll show you how that is affected. And then how many sheep we have, so and how many boar and how many cattle. So the ones that are kind of easier to get and the ones that come out earlier in the game, it's harder to get to that top score. So you need 8 grain in order to get 4 points, but you only need 4 vegetables to get 4 points. Excuse me. You need 8 or more sheep to get 4 points. We only need 6 cattle. I say only, that's a feat in and of itself. Cows are hard to come by. At the end of the game, you will lose a point per unused space in your farmyard. Right now, we have 13 unused spaces, so we're losing 13 points. You get 1 point per fenced stable, and you're limited during the game to 4 stables, just like you're limited to 15 fences. And these are tracked down here. I almost said truck. These are truck down here. You get 3 points per family member that you have at the end of the game. So hey, we already have 2, so we're starting with 6 points, which does not negate all of this, which is why we're at negative 14. And you get 1 point per clay hut room, and 2 points per stone house room, and 0 points per wood house room. So just to give you an idea, we'll come peek at this every once in a while so you can see how we're doing. Up here, we'll keep a running total of what our score is. So we're at negative 14 points right now, starting out strong. We're going to click up here. We're going to tap up here to go back to this place, which is where we will actually put our workers. So there are our resource gathering places. Here we can get wood, we can get clay, we can get reed. The stone, we don't have a place where we can get stone yet. That's going to come out later in the game. If you tap on this, it'll tell you specifically what you can do. Now where it says 3 wood, that means at the beginning of each round, we will refill these resource spaces. So we'll put 3 wood here, 1 clay here, 1 reed here. If neither me nor Colin, if neither Colin nor I go to this space, these 3 wood will still be there. We'll add 3 more wood, so it'd be 6 wood there to take. 2 clay and 2 reed. But if someone were to take this 3 wood, that means next round there'd only be 3 wood because it wouldn't be accumulating. The animals, which are going to be in these areas over here, these pens, they're the same, but we don't have access to those yet. Each round, a new space will be revealed. This guy, this fisherman, he gets a food added onto him each round as well. So as long as nobody takes it, he'll accumulate some food. This place lets you collect a grain or a wheat to put into your inventory. This bull plows a field for you, plows 1 space. This is the day laborer space. It will give you 2 food. It's like a last resort sort of place. Okay, so this space allows you to build an extra room and build a stable. So the cost for rooms is 5 of the material type that your house is made of and 2 reed. So I have a wooden house right now, so it would cost me 5 wood and 2 reed to build a new room onto my house. If I had renovated to a clay house, it would cost me 5 clay and 2 reed to make a new clay room. If I was at a stone house, it would cost me 5 stone and 2 reed. I'm still, as a player, trying to figure out the sweet spot of when to renovate versus when to add on rooms, because it can get a little expensive with wood, because the things you use wood for are building rooms in a wood house and also fences. And sometimes I don't have enough for fences. So there's a lot of decisions to make in this game. And not only that, but you're also limited by what your opponent chooses to do. So wherever Colin goes this round, I can't go. Only 1 player can go to each place. So Colin might seriously affect my gameplay. And I'm ready to be irritated at Colin. So we talked about all this stuff, except for over here. So you see this little well? This is these are major improvements. Major improvements are red. So let's go ahead and talk about these first 2. These are going to be the same every game. A major improvement is an improvement that 1 player can take, and they'll like physically put it in with their farm space, and it allows them to do more with their farm. So if we go back and look at our farm, you remember this little kitchenette thing we have here? What this means is I can exchange 1 grain for 1 food, or 1 vegetable for 1 food. That's not super efficient. If I had this guy here, this fireplace, let's take a little peek-see at him. I could convert 1 vegetable into 2 food instead of 1 vegetable into 1 food. And I could bake bread, I could bake a grain into 2 food instead of 1. So I'm increasing my efficiency in that regard. Now you'll notice too, I can also convert animals into food. So that's another way to stave off starvation. Now let's talk about the anatomy of the card. This space down here is going to tell us what we can do with this improvement. So I have a little picture and this little hex of what it is and the name. Up in the upper right hand corner, we will have the cost, what resources we need to pay in order to acquire this improvement. The left side might potentially have some condition that needs to be met. Maybe we have to have a certain number of animals before we can build this. None of the major improvements are going to have any condition like that, but we might see some examples later. And anything in this gold coin is going to count as a point or whatever the number value is inside. It's going to count as that amount of points at the end of the game. So if I built this fireplace, I would get 1 point in scoring at the end. So it cost me 2 clay to build this fireplace. The next fireplace costs 3 clay. So it's kind of an early bird gets the cheap fireplace situation. We know all about that. All right, the next one is a cooking hearth. Now this costs either 4 clay or you can return a fireplace that you have. So if you paid 2 clay for this fireplace back here, you take another major improvement, you can exchange your fireplace for a cooking hearth, and look, things just got even more efficient. Vegetables can now be 3 instead of 2, wild boar can be 3 instead of 2, and cattle can be 4 instead of 3. Let's see how that was the ratio over here. Grain, 2 bread, but now it's 3. So the cooking hearth is better than the fireplace. We have another cooking hearth. Again, we can return a fireplace or pay 5 clay. For this one, it's a little bit more expensive. And then we have our ovens. Now you'll notice ovens can only bake bread. They cannot slaughter, you can't slaughter and cook animals in these ovens. So the clay oven is 3 clay and 1 stone, and it's worth 2 points at the end of the game. Now there's an action called bake bread. When you take it, you can exchange, if you have the clay oven, you can exchange 1 grain for 5 food. That's pretty cool. But if you have the stone oven, you can exchange 2 grain for 4 food each. So you would be getting 8 food if you did 2 grain. This one costs 1 clay and 3 stone. It's made of stone instead of clay, and it's worth 3 points at the end of the game. So those are our basic, like, making edible things, these 5 resources, into food that we can actually eat. Now over here, these guys, the joinery, pottery, and basket makers workshop, these are things that are, like I was saying earlier, are a way to eat building materials. Delicious, right? So the joinery allows you each harvest to convert 1 wood into food. Now I don't think thematically that you're actually eating the resource. I think you're exchanging it like a good and service barter system. But I still like to imagine that these major improvements somehow like affect your spleen or something, so you're able to actually process the pulp of wood. This costs you 2 wood and 2 stone and is worth 2 points at the end of the game. In addition to that, you also get these end of game points. You receive 1, 2, or 3 bonus points for 3, 5, or 7 wood that you have in stock. That is the only way to score points for any of these resources at the end of the game if you have one of these cards. So if you had 3 wood at the end of the game, you'd get 1 point. If you had 5 wood at the end of the game, you'd get 2 points. 7 wood, you'd get 3 points. Similarly, there's the pottery, which allows you to eat clay and gives you points for how much clay you have at the end of the game. And the basket maker's workshop, which does the same for reed. There's no way to eat stones, which is kind of weird because thematically, I feel like that would make sense. There's that folktale, the stone soup folktale, that I think, well, maybe because in that folktale, though, spoiler alert, they don't actually eat the stone. They eat what everybody else puts in it. So maybe it's more thematic than I thought. Now, our last little guy, our last major improvement over here, the well, is 1, I almost said 1 food, 1 wood and 3 stone, worth 4 points. Place 1 food each on the next 5 rounds. When they start, you receive the food. So basically, it just gives you 5 food spread out over the course of some time, but it's also giving you 4 points just straight up. So if you have a surplus of stone, that could work. Now, like I said, these major improvements, these red cards, are available to anybody, and they are the same every game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not randomized. They're always these improvements. Now, what is randomized are these orange minor improvements that we have up here. The yellow cards are occupations, and the orange cards are minor improvements. These are going to be specific to me as a player. Now, you might recall at the beginning, I said that there was a family option that you can play with Agricola. That does not involve these cards. It's just straight Agricola across the board. These cards add a little bit of sort of strategy direction to a player and a little variability to the game. These are also the cards that you can draft if you're playing draft mode. ostensibly to try to develop a strategy for how you're going to play the game. But for me, my what is the expression? My eyes were bigger than my stomach, I guess. Um, and that I try to get too many strategies going. I overwhelm myself. This game, there are not as many actions in this game that you'll be able to take as you might think there will be. So don't overgeneralize your strategy. So let's start with this first orange minor improvement here. The clay roof. So you see, it doesn't cost any resources, but there is a prerequisite that you have an occupation. It's worth a coin, and this tells you what deck it's from. So it's from the E deck. You can replace 1 or 2 reed with the same amount of clay whenever you extend or renovate your home. That's pretty cool. The potato dipper is worth 1, or it costs 1 wood. Whenever you sow fields with vegetables, place 1 additional vegetable on each field that you sow. Neat. The plane, 1 wood. Whenever you turn 1 wood into food using the joinery, sawmill, or cabinet maker, you receive 1 additional food. You can choose instead to turn a second wood into exactly 2 food. So that'll help you with the joinery, that major improvement that we talked about. The sawmill is a minor improvement, and the cabinet maker is a profession. The stone tongs, whenever you use one of the stone action spaces, you receive an additional stone. The windmill, at any time you can convert grain to 2 food without having to bake bread. So that's pretty handy if things get a little bit desperate. The stone house extension. When you play this card, immediately extend your stone house by 1 room. The room does not cost anything. I mean, but it kind of does because you have to pay a reed and 3 stone. And then you see down here, after you play this card, pass it to the player on the left who adds it to his or her hand. So then they could play it and it might come back to you. Those are my favorite types of improvements. And then we have a simple fireplace. This is grand. So you see it's not as efficient as the fireplace that we had in the major improvements, but it only costs 1 clay. And you might recall that in order to build a hearth, we just need to exchange in a fireplace, and the simple fireplace meets that criterion. So that's a good improvement for us to start with as well. Now let's talk about our occupations. So on our map, this windmill and book you see here, this is the symbol for the minor occupations. This is where we go. We can put a dude here if we want to build a minor occupation as an action, or a minor improvement as an action. This book up here is our occupations book. So windmill is minor improvement, book is occupation, and well is major improvement. So let's look at what we would have to do in order to get an occupation. If we put a person here, our first occupation is free, and each additional one costs 1 food. Just so we know what the cost is. So let's see, the clay mixer. Whenever one of your people's actions gives you only clay, you receive 2 additional clay. Pretty neat, pretty handy. The woodcutter, you receive 1 additional wood whenever you use a family member's action to take wood. Cool. The mendicant, at the end of the game, you can discard up to 2 begging cards without losing points for them. We'll talk about begging cards when the time comes. The merchant, whenever you use the minor improvement or minor or major improvement action, you can pay 1 food to use the action a second time. Efficient. The baker, during each harvest, you may bake bread at the start of the feeding phase if you have an improvement with the bread symbol. So one of the hearths or the ovens. When you play this card, you may bake bread as an additional action. That could come in handy later. The mason, once during the game, at any time after your stone house reaches at least 4 rooms, you may extend it by 1 room at no cost. That in conjunction with that other stone room one might be pretty useful. And the maid, once you built a clay hut, place 1 food on each remaining round space. At the start of these rounds, you receive the food. If you already have a clay hut or a stone house, when you play this card, place the food immediately. Well, that kind of makes me want to upgrade to a clay hut pretty quickly. I'm not going to lie. And upgrading costs 2 reed plus 1 of the building material for each room. 1 of the building material of each of the type that you're upgrading to for each room. So if I have a 2-room wood shack, wood hut, I would have to pay 2 reed and 1 wood for each room, so it'd be 2 wood. If I have a 4-room clay hut, I would have to pay 2 reed and 4 clay, 1 clay for each room. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get this party started. So we have 2 people. That's what these circles mean. We got 2 people. We get to go first. I'm inclined to take that wood. So we'll move our little guy over there. We'll confirm it. And now they can't go there, so they're going to put out an occupation. So whenever this guidepost has a halo around it, that means it's possible for you to take the action. You meet the requirements to take it. So there's no requirements here to take these goods, to take this fish. There is a requirement to either build a room or build a stable. And we can build a stable right now because it only costs 2 wood. But I want to save my wood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the plow. And I'm going to plow this field down here. And that's going to affect our score. Because we have 1 less empty field now. So Colin just did a minor improvement that, oh, he also got first player. And our new, okay, there's going to be a couple things I'm going to have to discuss here. So if you go to here, to this space, you get to become starting player and or get a place a minor improvement. So the minor improvement that Colin placed is actually one of those ones that ended up in my hand. This one, the field. When you play this card, immediately plow 1 field. So it's one of those, play it and then pass it to the player on your left. So that's fun. We'll probably do that. The new action that we got is this one over here. Build a major or minor improvement. And from the first stage, the first round, it was bake bread and or sow a field. Now, in case you forget which ones are possible, you can come here to the game stages, and these are the buildings that are going to come out before our first harvest. So sheep are going to come out, sow bake bread has already come out, improvements have come out, and build fences is going to come out. And these are randomized each game. You know that sheep will come out as one of the first 4, but you don't know where it's going to come out. You know stone is going to come out somewhere between rounds 5 and 7, but you're not sure where. And renovate and fences is always last. Cool. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I kind of want to plow another field. I want that clay. I want more clay to be there before I take it. So, let's go ahead and put out our... Let's get our maid ready. Oh, where'd she go? So once we upgrade, we'll be getting all that food. And then, oh, they took the reed, those jokers. We will plow another field. Oh, no, we won't plow a field because we have that card that's going to let us plow. So we will take a grain so that we'll be able to plant it. All right, we have 2 rounds till harvest. Let's see what our next thing is going to be. Sheep. So each round, 1 sheep will be added here. And then, okay. So he's going to build, he built a room. Good for him. Okay, so I'm going to have 4 actions before harvest. I need, before harvest happens, I need to get 2 more food, which will take 1 action. Even if I have to go to day labor, it'll be 2 food, I'll be fine. I need to, I guess I can take that clay and what else do I need to do? I need to get a grain and I need to sow. That's 4 things. That's too many things. I only have 4 actions because I need another. I want to get Okay, we're going to go to starting player. We're going to take starting player. We're also going to do a minor improvement. We're going to play that one that they just played, the plow. This field one. And we will plow right there. Golly, they took the wood. Okay, then we will take another wheat, another grain, and now we get to go first, which is good. Now the two things that we need to do are we need to get food and we need to sow our fields. So we're going to go ahead and come up here to fishing. We're going to take that for food. And of course I'm letting them have all that wood, which is kind of terrible. And then we're going to go here to the bake bread slash sow. So we have these two fields. We're going to sow both of them with grain. Now you'll notice that one grain becomes 3 columns. Each harvest, you'll take 1 off. So this next harvest will get 2 grain. The harvest after that will get 2 grain. The harvest after that will get 2 grain. And vegetables sow twice. So grains give a return of 3 times, and vegetables give a return of twice. So we'll confirm that as our turn. Bloop. They will take that food. Now it's harvest. So first, like I said, we get food from our fields. So we have 2 grain. Now we have to feed our family. So it'll tell us down here how many we have to feed, how much food we actually have, and it'll show who it's assigned to. We're good. See, we've managed to produce food for all of our people. If we didn't, we would need to take a beggar card for each food that we're unable to supply. And the beggar cards are worth -3 points. They're no joke. So, good. And then we'll have some food left over. And then the breeding phase, if you have 2 animals of the same breed, of the same species, they will have a baby. But it's not for every 2 animals of the species. So if I have 2 sheep, they'll have a baby. If I have 4 sheep, there will only be 1 baby that'll come out of that union. Okay, so here's the thing. The action that we got is stone this time. So let's look at what our actions are potentially. Look, we're at -6 points. Look at that. We're making progress. So this stage, stage 2, we'll get a stone place, we'll get renovate and improve, and we'll get family growth and minor improvement. Family growth can only happen if you have room in your house for family, which I don't. I'm going to need another room. What I'm going to do is because I want this wood, I want this clay, and I want this reed. I'm going to go ahead and just take the wood to begin with. I hope I can get that clay. Good, they took the reed. That's fine, I don't care. I'm going to take that clay because I can get the reed later. Oh, it's going to be really inefficient for me to get it. Okay, let's see what they do. So, excuse me. They're building another room. It's kind of silly. I don't know why they didn't go and have a baby because they have room for a baby now. Oh, that's why, because the space wasn't out there yet. Okay, so there's the baby space. Oh, bugger. The problem is, I don't want to have to keep using actions to get the reed. So I'm just going to get the reed next time. I'm going to get the reed and build a room next time. And then I'll get my 3rd person. Oh, it's going to take forever. It's okay. So in the meantime, what I would like to do is build that simple fireplace. It only cost me 1 clay, and I'll be able to convert it into a they just took all those sheep. It's like they knew what I was going to do. I'll be able to convert it into a cooking hearth easier. Like I said, they just took 4 sheep, which is pretty good for them. Okay, well, I then, slightly abashed, am going to... What other minor improvement do I want to do? I could get a clay roof. I can replace 1 or 2 reed with the same amount of clay whenever you extend or renovate your home. That's perfect. Should have thought about that earlier. That's great. Okay, so we're going to come here. We're going to do a major improvement. We're going to take the cooking hearth. Bloop. Oops, come back. The cooking hearth. Build. And we will return our simple fireplace. Instead of paying clay, we will confirm that. Oh, wait. Was that one or the other? It must have been. Oh, the end of the round. So see how they had a baby? And now they have 3 people. And now here we can renovate, finally. I probably should have done that differently. I mean, I definitely should have done that differently. Oh, bother. Okay, well, let's take this wood. Ugh. And then, oh my gosh, we have no food. Okay. Go fishing and hope that they don't. They're probably going to sow. Oh no, they just took 2 food. Well, we still get to go first next time, so that's something. I am just making mistakes left and right. Which is good. It's good for you to see. So, I have just enough food to feed my family. I will confirm it. I don't have any animals, so they're not going to be breeding. And I still have a 2-room house, which is embarrassing. Ooh, he had to take a begging card. Colin. All right, now we can take a vegetable. That space is available. But what we're going to do first is we're going to come down here. We're going to take this reed. And then we're going to build a room on our house. We're going to pay the 5 wood, because that's what type of house we have, and 2 reed. And then, we're not going to build any stables. We're going to end our turn. And they went and they're going to have another baby. And then when we have a baby, there's going to be a harvest at the end of this round. Of course there is. Oh no, we are not ready for a harvest. Oh, we've played very poorly. Okay. We could take that. We could take those sheep and eat them. Yep, that's what we're going to have to do. Okay, we will do this. We'll do a minor improvement of the clay roof. And then we will eat the sheep. So, it shows us here, we have on our farm, we have 3 sheep, but only one of them has a place to go. The animals up here are homeless. So you'll see we can keep 1 animal of only 1 species in our house. It's kind of like a pet. The other ones need to either be in a stable or in an enclosed pasture, which obviously these animals aren't. So we're going to take these guys and we're going to drag them to the cooking hearth. And we're going to cook them. Now, you see how we need to provide 5 food? It's because we just had a baby this turn. And babies only need to eat 1 food. But we're going to just go ahead and eat all of our, sheep. We'll just eat them all. Next turn, at least, we'll have 3 people. We're going to upgrade that maid. I didn't get that maid going soon enough. We're going to feed the family, which we're fine at. We don't have any animals, so there's not going to be any breeding. All right. Oh my god, we're only going to get 4 food from the maid. What a waste. Okay. So, let's go ahead and just take all this clay. Because we're going to make a clay house. What's Colin doing? Building another wooden room? Well, we're going to come over here. We're going to upgrade. And we have 1 reed, so we're going to use 1 reed. And we will also, let's see, what improvement do we want to do? Do a potato dipper. Stone tongs are nice. We'll do the stone tongs. So we took the boars, which is fine. And we will, oh. So we have a clay house now. Looking at our farm, you see that our fields are now empty because we have these 6 wheat that we've collected, these 6 grain we've collected over the years. So let's go back and let's go ahead and sow. Oh, we can sow next time. Let's plow so we can get a 3rd field going. And then next turn, in round 11, we will sow and bake bread. So Colin's at 5 people. Now we can get cows. And I'm going to have my... Oh, I still only have 3 rooms in my house. That's fine. I could build another one. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to sow in these 3 spaces. And then we're going to bake bread with 3 loaves. And that puts us at 11 food. So we're good. We're good for food at harvest. See, there's only 2 rounds before harvest. Excellent. So we have 6 clay. I want to get some fences out so we can start getting some animals. Okay, let's build 1 field. So that's a big old pasture. So how many animals can I keep in each pasture, you might be asking? If we were to enclose only 1 space, like this, I would be able to keep 2 animals in that space. If I have a stable on there, it would double it. I'd be able to keep 4 animals. Now in this space, I can keep 4 animals, and if I have a stable, it would turn into 8 animals. So we're just going to build a big pasture and hope we can get those sheep in there, which we'll be able to. And then we'll be able to see sheep have a baby. Master brewer. All right. So we have harvested 3 food. They're taking another begging card, which concerns me. We got 3 grain from our fields over here. We fed everybody. Everybody's happy. And now look, look, we had a little baby. Wonderful. All right. So we only have 3 turns left. Ooh, and now we have the family growth even without space in your home. Now, Colin's not going to be going there because Colin has the maximum number of people. We don't. We do not have the maximum number of people. So we're going to send a person over here to get some clay. And then we're going to send a person up here to build a room. And we're going to use 7 clay. Because remember, we have the clay roof, which lets us use the target material in lieu of reed. And then we don't have any wood, so we're not going to be able to build a stable, which is fine. And then we're going to send a person to have a baby. And that's it. I can't make any minor improvements. So next turn we'll have 4 people to work with, and we'll use one of them to make another baby. Because the things that we want to be able to do, we want to be able to get those pigs. Oh, I want those pigs. All right, Colin, what are you going to do? Those pigs, Colin heard me. I'm going to get that cow. And that cow is going to live in my house. Because I don't have any other place for him. Okay, so now we are going to have a baby without space in my home. So I'm going to need 2 more food, at least. And I have 2 more actions. Well, he went fishing. A-lee-da-dee-da-lee. I can bake bread because I have 3 bread. I'm not worried about that. I could get those 2 sheep and I could slaughter one of them. But then I wouldn't have space for just a natural sheep birth. So I'm going to get all this stone. That's definitely something I want to do. And my last action is either going to be to get, it's going to be to get reed. Because I'm going to want to upgrade my house to stone in the next round. And I'll be able to do that and make fences. So hopefully I can get some wood. All right, feeding the family. Oh dear. So see how I'm too short? And it's telling me over here that I could get a begging card, which is worth -3 points, which I'm not going to do. That's ridiculous. I could cook a sheep. Let's take a look at what our score would be. So, oh, we don't have any vegetables. So anywhere from 1 to 3 sheep is going to give us 1 point. If we just leave the sheep, right now I have 3 sheep. I'll have 4 sheep at the end of this turn. And then at the end of the next harvest, I'll have 5 sheep. There's no difference there. So I'm just going to eat a sheep. So let's cook a sheep. And we're good. And then they'll have another baby. And then that'll put us at 4 at the end of the next harvest. Okay. So, please don't get fences. Or wood. Please, Colin. Colin! Ugh! I hate you, Colin. Okay. Dang it. So, okay, that's fine. Well, we're going to take this action down here because this one is probably something that he's going to want to do. And so we're just going to go ahead and stop him. So we're going to put one of our dudes on here. Wait. Come on. Okay. And we're going to spend that. And that's going to upgrade our house. Now we're going to want to get a vegetable. Oh my gosh, look, he built up everything. Colin, you're driving me bananas. Okay, we need at least 1 vegetable. So we're going to take this vegetable. He took that grain, so we're going to plow a field. We know he's not going to want to plow a field. We have so much empty space because we were not at all concerned with fences. All right, and then let's go ahead and sow and bake because we can sow the vegetables. And we're going to need some food. Now, let's take a look at the scoring. Grain, we only need 8 to get 4 points. And we are going to have 1, 2, 3. Oh dear. So we can only bake 1 bread. I should be able to get one of the animals and just slaughter them all. That's what we're going to bank on. All right. There are 3 sheep. We're going to eat them. We're going to eat 1, 2, 3 sheep. Good. All right. Harvest time. Not great. I still think we're going to beat Colin because Colin seemed like kind of a dummy. But this is definitely not an amazingly played game of Agricola. Okay, so we're good for food. Our animals are going to have another baby. Okay, and then we're going to come here and we're going to see our score. So, I only had 3 fields, Colin had 4. I only had 1 pasture, Colin had 4. I got 4 points off wheat, he got 1. I got 2 points off vegetables, he lost 1. 2 points off sheep. I didn't have any boars, he had boars. I only had 1 cattle, he got 3 points for cattle. I had 5 empty spaces. I had no stables and he had 1. Not great. I got 8 points for my clay house. We both got 15 for our people. He had begging cards, which is what's going to end up being bad news for him. We got almost the same number of points there. and no extra points. So I beat him solely because of these. Like, that is a 9-point difference right there. We would have tied if not for those begging cards. No, it's interesting to think about with the begging cards because him not producing food let him get points in other places, right? And I had to do other things instead of, uh, like, I had to get food instead of doing other things, which might be why I lost points here, whereas he only lost points here and he had more of these animals. He was able to take wood all of those times. So, I mean, definitely play against the easy guy. I don't actually usually play multiplayer when I'm playing Agricola with the app. This is only the second game I've played against. I mean, you can see here the second game I've played. I don't play online because I don't care to. It's if I'm gonna play Agricola against people, I'll play in person against people. What I like about the app is the solo series. Um, And what it does, so if your goal in solo is to get to 50 points, and from the professions that you play over the course of your game, you get to choose one to stay in play for your second game. And the series requirement, the game requirement, sort of amps up by 5 points each game. I had this app, this is on my phone, I had it on my iPad, and I was up, I had done several games in a row, and it's very enjoyable. The solo series is very enjoyable in this. I haven't played online against anyone, but I don't know. I'm sure that there's like a time delay thing, which would probably drive me bananas because as it is, I find it hard to remember what I'm gonna do. But so this game, what's important about this game? It's a classic. It will show you slight ruthlessness. You saw that I got sort of hedged out of wood a lot in the game. So there's kind of an element of press your luck to it too. Like, should I wait and get that clay? Should I go and get this thing first to make sure I can get this? I have to prioritize this so that stupid Colin doesn't take more wood. How much wood did Colin need? But I mean, you saw at the end, he had 4 enclosed pastures. Like, come on. And he didn't have any empty spaces, and I did. Usually I don't have that many empty spaces. But go to any game group across the world and you will probably be able to play Agricola, assuming that someone has a copy there. I know that at our local game store, we actually have like a demo copy of it on the demo shelf. Or it's a classic. It's great. And there are the different packs and everything. Anyway, I really like Agricola. I hope this was helpful. You're going to lose this game. I'd like to think it's more of like a multiplayer puzzle than anything else. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the game. I hope that you play it. I hope that you go and play it with real people too. And I hope you play the solo series on the app. And I hope that you have a good day.